If you think a life sentence shouldn't be given to a teenager, then hold that thought, because after witnessing the up-and-coming scenes, you may change your mind. I'm Stewie, and you're watching another pause video of guilty teens reacting to life sentences. First up, we have a teen that goes by the name Aiden Fuji. He was in for stabbing and killing a classmate.
The effect, if any, of immaturity, impetuosity, or failure to appreciate the risks and consequences of the defendant's participation in the offense. And the effect of the crime, and the nature and circumstances of the offense committed by the defendant. These factors are somewhat combined. 114 stab wounds, 49 defensive wounds, 35 wounds to the head and neck, 29 to the back and shoulder, and 6 fatal wounds. This court has reviewed and seen more than its fair share of autopsy photos. The autopsy photos in this particular case were particularly difficult. The 49 defensive wounds indicate that Tristan Bailey was conscious, that she was aware, and that she was doing everything she could to fend off this attack. She suffered a painful, horrifying death from someone that she trusted. Her screams were most likely stifled by her own suffocating lungs. He lured her into a secluded place in the woods near his home, a person that she trusted, and he led her there under false pretenses. There was a heightened level of premeditation in this case. Based on the prior statements that he made to his girlfriend and his friend, he indicated that he was going to kill someone.
And then the judge handed down his sentence.
It is for this reason and all of the reasons previously stated that leads this court to the conclusion that there is only one appropriate sentence in this case. Mr. Fuji, if you and your attorneys would please rise. Counsel, is there any legal reason why this court cannot impose sentence at this time?
No, sir.
Mr. Fuji, having entered a plea of guilty to the crime of first-degree murder, I adjudicate you guilty of the premeditated first-degree murder of Tristan Bailey. I sentence you to life in prison. Because of your age, you are eligible for review of the sentence in 25 years. I order the Department of Corrections to notify you when you are eligible to apply for your review hearing. Madam Clerk, if you will please impose the minimum fines and court costs. Mr. Fuji, you have 30 days to appeal the legality of this court's sentence. If you wish to appeal but cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you. You will be taken back to the Duval County Jail and then transported into the Florida State Prison System. We are adjourned.
For a teen to be so heartless, it was truly heartbreaking, especially for the victim's family. Now we have Jeremiah King. He was in for killing an innocent bartender that confronted him and his friends about breaking into cars.
He was able to go out, drink alcohol, use drugs, spend time with his friends without any adult supervision whatsoever.
King was only 16 when he murdered a beloved Albuquerque bartender in his own driveway in the middle of the night back in 2015.
You have no idea how much, Jeremiah, you took from so many people.
You took a life. It doesn't get any worse than that.
It happened after police say King and 5 of his friends spent the night mobbing, breaking into cars and homes when Stephen Garrett confronted them in his garage. King admitted to pulling the trigger, but today in court, King's mother told the judge that's not the son she knew.
Jeremiah is a good moral character. I realize it might be hard to believe that given the circumstances, but it's true nevertheless.
But before the judge could hand down his sentence,
I can't do much but say sorry. I could prove it by doing good while I'm in prison.
In prison, behind bars, where he'll spend the next 25 years, a sentence Garrick's family says hasn't come easy.
And this is a good indication that the courts are taking it very seriously about how violent and senseless this was. I will never have him back, but that's okay.
Garrick's widow has been showing up at just about every one of these court appearances for all 6 of the teens and publicly criticizing all these plea deals. She wanted King to serve life. Back to you.
Okay, thanks, Marissa. Now, King could get out of prison by the age of 40.
He said he would only do good in prison, but this news article came out 3 years later.
An investigation last November links him to an assault on an inmate at the state prison in Hobbs. And records show King got caught twice with homemade alcohol, or hooch. That, plus regularly skipping out on his GED class, totals to more than a dozen infractions that have cost him phone and visitation privileges. Meanwhile, King's friend, Rodriguez, is serving 14 years in the state pen. At his sentencing, Judge Lovelace said Rodriguez's behavior behind bars while awaiting trial showed he's not sorry for what he did.
What you have to do is decide what kind of life do you want to live. Do you want to live a life of crime? Do you want to live a life where basically your family always sees you in jail?
Unlike King, Rodriguez never vowed to be on his best behavior. In fact, you might remember he was the one who gave everyone the middle finger in court at one point. This is what he's up to in the state pen in Santa Fe. Rodriguez is accused of joining 4 others in a second-floor prison cell to assault an inmate. Video shows him quickly get out of there afterwards, jumping down the stairs. A hearing officer recommended he lose 4 months of good time as punishment.
Next up, we have a teen girl who took part in murdering her own mother alongside her twin sister. They got separated for the trial as they were too close. Here is Tasmia Whitehead's plead for guilt.
Mr. Lamont, I'd be glad to hear anything you'd like to share with me.
Yes, very briefly. Just on behalf of Ms. Whitehead, we ask that you accept her plea of guilty to these charges as accused and presented to the court, and we ask that you accept the recommendations set forth by the state. This is a plea that has been wrangled with and negotiated, and we ask that you accept that.
Ms. Whitehead, if you'll please stand up. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you this. I have read this many times, the expression, and y'all have too, tragedy of epic proportions. I never knew what that was until today. I know what that means today. There is no joy in being here today for anybody. I understand that. I made a finding that Ms. Whitehead freely and voluntarily waived her rights to a jury trial, knowing the plea, and I accepted that plea, freely and voluntarily given. And I think this is a reasonable resolution to a great tragedy that lasted not a day, not a week, but for a period of time. Now, there are consequences for your conduct. You've entered a guilty plea, and you'll have to deal with those consequences. Everybody always wants to hear somebody say some type of response, but words are never going to be appropriate.
Amen.
The way we show remorse is how we live each day.
Right.
We all know where you're going to be. It's all going to be based on how you live. Count 1, I sentenced you to 20 years. I ordered you serve that in confinement. Count 2, I sentenced you to 5 years. I want those 5 years to be served in confinement. Count 2, run consecutive to count 1. Count 3, I sentenced you to 5 years in confinement. Those 5 years will run consecutive to count 2, which is consecutive to count 1, giving you a sentence of 30 years to serve. I ordered the state of Georgia to give you credit for every day that you have been incarcerated up to this day. And I wish you the best of luck. That's the order of the court.
Nikki was a loving person. She was not, she didn't, argue with people. She always brought people together.
Up next, we have Kyle Elwood. He was 9 when his mother went out to get the mail, but came back to him stabbing his younger sister.
Concealed as he walked into the courtroom Wednesday morning, the 9-year-old Ocala boy accused of trying to kill his 5-year-old sister appeared before a judge for the second time.
When was the psychiatric evaluation complete? Monday. Okay.
The boy's attorney said competency evaluations still have to take place and asked the judge for more time. She agreed to hear the case again in exactly 1 week on February 12th. This all goes back to Monday of last week when the 9-year-old is accused of stabbing his little sister multiple times with a kitchen knife inside their apartment in Ocala. The children's mother told police she left the kids alone for only about 10 minutes.
I need you to tell me exactly what happened, okay?
Okay, so I went to check the mail. I came back. Right by the time I came back from the mail,
He was stabbing her.
In the arrest affidavit, detectives say the boy claimed he'd been thinking about killing his sister for 2 days and that he tried to get it out of his head but could not. He told detectives that during the attack he was shouting, "Die, die," before his mother returned and grabbed the knife. As for the little girl, I talked to an Ocala police spokeswoman while we were waiting here inside the Marion County Judicial Center. She tells me the 5-year-old's injuries were severe and she is still in the hospital.
Then, a year later, this news article comes out. This was after his mother said he was not a monster.
This morning, we learned 9-year-old Kyle Allwood was found unfit to stand trial. Now, he is accused of starting a deadly fire last April, killing 5 family members. According to Judge Charles Feeney of the Woodford County Courthouse, Allwood is not likely to gain fitness to stand trial in the next year. The news comes after the judge read the fitness evaluation completed by a doctor. Both the defense and the state are requesting a discharge hearing. A case management hearing will be held in August beforehand. The 2019 fire took the lives of 5 people: 69-year-old Catherine Murray, 34-year-old Jason Wall, 2-year-old Damian Wall, 2-year-old Rose Allwood, and 1-year-old Ariel Wall.
It's pretty clear to see that he needs more than just psychological help. Next up is Sarah Bunch, who was 20 when she killed a man she had accused of being an attacker. Here is her story.
Sarah Bunch is rushed out of the courtroom as Judge Alan Mayberry calls a recess to let things settle down. Her screaming and cursing echoed even outside, while the sentence and subsequent outburst upset her family and friends too.
Guys, I want to tell you something. Now, I've had it.
But the court constable put a quick end to that. In court today, Bunch claimed that back on December 8th, 2008, 60-year-old Robert Porter sexually assaulted her and she thought he might even kill her. So she shot him twice in the head in self-defense because, as she put it, she's not a murderous person. The prosecution said she then waited a half hour, came back, and tried to burn his Northwood house down. Firefighters stumbled across Porter's body while knocking down flames.
I really was a good person. I had 2 jobs. You know, I have custody of my kid. I was doing what I needed to do.
But Judge Mayberry said if it had been self-defense, the logical move would have been calling the police and explaining what happened. There were also some contradictions with the evidence.
I'm having a hard time understand how someone's coming towards you and the second shot is in the back of their head. Can you explain that to me?
Mayberry had to ask about this several times before Bunch said Porter turned his head. She said she was sorry she had to talk about such gruesome details in front of the dozen or so family members, but never outright apologized to them. One of Porter's daughters explained just how much this has affected her and his 8 grandchildren.
The last and certainly the most vivid memory his grandchildren have of him is him laying dead in a casket over a senseless and to them confusing act of violence.